Star-Crossed Kings continues today. Sib is still defending his throne against a fourth challenger today. Guy Ledouche, who I've actually cast before, is going to be trying to dethrone Sib. We've got him playing as Soviets in the west, and Sib is over Commando West in the east of Simoski Winter. He has already chosen his commander, Armored Assault. That one I don't see as often. I don't quite recognize him by the portrait yet. Armored Assault has been chosen. So we're looking at Soviet late game, probably relying mostly on conscripts, maybe on tier 1 or tier 2. Opening up some early game options for him, Soviet core units, and then transitioning into call-ins later. And he'll of course have radio intercept at the very beginning to have access to knowledge of what his opponent is doing, which won't be anything surprising this game, just opening with Volksgrenadiers. He will He will know which tech Sib goes, I believe. Radio intercept does give him that information, I think, when he constructs his first truck, but that's probably not going to be much of a surprise. Anyway, with battle group headquarters going up right here, it's just a matter of time before he spots this. Sib setting up that battle group headquarters right there in the central village, with Volksgrenadiers available to support. Guy Ledouche too busy backcapping to make an aggressive maneuver and spot that. So that should be able to build safely. In 2v2, putting a truck right there is almost certain death, by the way, against a significant amount of Soviets. In 1v1, it really mostly just comes down to your opponent's commander selection, and since he hasn't chosen a heavy mortar, it'll probably be fine, unless he, like, goes Katyusha, which he might. Who knows? After taking control of the North Fuel, the Stern Pioneers will actually make their way back towards the central village to assist in the first series of engagements. We've got a 4 conscript opening, and they're going to see the battle group headquarters now start attacking this area from the south. Volksgrenadiers in this building, Stern Pioneers and Volksgrenadiers available in the center. Stern Pioneers will make it into the house. Deep snow will prevent those conscripts from getting into it in time, and they're taking a ton of damage, but they have researched Molotovs, tossing a Molotov in there. One of the interesting things about Molotovs compared to other grenades is they don't do nearly the damage to buildings that grenades do this patch, or this series of patches. Which makes sense for their low cost. Making infiltration grenades is one of the only things that you can pretty much destroy an entire building with for pretty low munitions price. If not 10 munitions, then 20. Otherwise, it takes a satchel charge, a couple normal frag grenades, somewhere in the area of 45 to 60 munitions for most factions. And we're looking at 5 conscript opening now. I wonder if he might throw in an extra combat engineer for flamethrowers. So far, he's not grouping all of his conscripts up at all for engagements, just doing light poke and harassment, being generally forced to retreat and spreading himself all over the map, taking control of both the flanks, both the fuel points. He loses the south fuel point as he's gaining the north, and he's about to get cut off here by these Stern Pios, which have 7 kills already vet 1. They haven't had to retreat away from an engagement yet. There's their first model loss, inflicting 7 kills before receiving 1 loss. Pretty good value out of those Stern Pios here in the early game. Ooh, pretty nice mine right there. That might win this engagement for the combat engineers. Yeah, Volksgrenadiers will be forced to retreat. That mine will hold the south victory point for a little bit longer. The north victory point munition still has not been captured, but 1 squad of conscripts is being dedicated to that now. This engagement here for the center will go in his favor as well. Conscripts defending that fuel point. And combat engineers are taking control of the strategic point here in the south. Panzerschreck upgrade on that Volksgrenadier squad. Conscripts engaging them here from the central village. This squad of combat engineers needs to move to get that fuel back under control. Sib is cut off from this south fuel because he holds this cutoff point. But those Volksgrenadiers will force a retreat from the combat engineers there. Volksgrenadiers in the building. Slowly engaging right there, and still no commander selection from Sib, who does have 2 command points. Jaeger light infantry could be useful to try and get the flanks back under control from these buildings. May consider fortifications. His opponent doesn't really have any off-map artillery abilities, so fortifications is quite strong, very strong in fact, against armored assault, which has the late game call-in tanks, but it doesn't have any form of destroying heavy fortifications. And breakthrough probably be good too. Instead, spending all of his manpower on a 4th squad of Volksgrenadiers and a Raketenwerfer, and a retreat point unlock. From this point forward, we'll probably have a bit of manpower to spare if he continues to engage really cost effectively, which he has been so far. Maintaining building control, we've seen in the past how important building control is for Sib, his particular style. He likes to maintain a lot of building control at all times. Tends to make it difficult for his opponent to harass with a single squad. Single squad harassment tends not to work all that well if your opponent has really good building control. Fuel points both going to fall back into Sib's hands here, and he's throwing his tier 4 structure up at the 8-minute mark. That's pretty early. He's had pretty good map control if he's able to do that. Conscripts inside the church continue to engage these Volksgrenadiers in the house. The engagement's not really going anywhere. Volksgrenadiers taking control of the central victory point now, and more conscripts are on their way to support in the engagement. A lot of squads healing and reinforcing here in the base. He has not purchased field infirmary, instead spending all of his manpower into units. He's teched up now. He also got an extra combat engineering squad. He's got a mortar on the field from his tier 2 structure, so very infantry heavy opening, which makes sense when you've gone armored assault, to just swarm the battlefield with as many tier 2 units, tier 1, tier 0, whatever you want to call it, tier 0 and tier 2 units. And Sib just has every building, every single building. Molotov forces these Volksgrenadiers out. Those Volksgrenadiers out are brute forced out by small arms fire. The mortar, I don't think, has had much of a meaningful impact. It looks like it's bombarding the Raketenwerfer's house right here. Eventually, Sib will be forced from all of these buildings. But Guy Ledouche's commitment of forces to the center is leaving him a little weak on the harassment front. He won't be able to harass the south now that this is here, but the north is completely undefended. He's probably going to want to send at least 1 squad in that direction. Conscripts continue to flood into the central village. Sib seems to be able to manage this threat easily enough. Stern Pioneers set up in green cover there. They're already vet 2 with 14 kills. They are doing very well against this conscript spam. They cross the road, take 1 loss in the process. It would be pretty cool if we could see more useful information on individual units, like how much manpower bleed they've inflicted. How much manpower bleed they've inflicted versus how many models they've reinforced. You don't get access to fun information like that. Infiltration grenades obliterate the church and a squad does get wiped. A Maxim has been fielded out of the Tier 2 structure. What? Okay.
Supply half-track is in action. Standing by for setting of command post. Grenade! Complete! Infantry attacking in force!
Panzer II on the field from Sib, which he is now using to push this Tier 2 opening back into the Soviet base. Another squad just got wiped of combat engineers. And Sib will now take full control of the entire battlefield, using infiltration grenades to shut down his opponent in the buildings. A lot of manpower bleed inflicted, a lot of reinforcement has to happen here in the base. Guy Ledouche still quite far from call-ins for command points, and he has not collected the fuel he needs yet either. For the one with the cheaper fuel cost, he would actually need 11 command points. And he's losing total control of the map and doesn't have much of a way to deal with that Panzer II. Still needs to research anti-tank grenades, and his first field gun is about to roll onto the field as well. Sib's also going to field Jaeger light infantry out of this building here. He has chosen Scavenge, giving him the infiltration grenades from earlier and the Jaeger light infantry as well. And the Panzer II in the retreat path of those two conscript squads puts a lethal end to that harassment attempt. Mine going down here in the ice. It will get spotted by conscripts though. Field gun making its way forward to try to engage the Panzer II. Screened by what little infantry Guy Ledouche has left.
Ready for deployment. Attacking infantry fire! Field promotion! German territory ready!
Stern Pioneers chase away the Maxim there. Field gun was not able to get into position to fire on the Panzer II, other than once. It's taken only minor damage. Will get repaired, and Guy Ledouche is reduced to only 4 squads remaining, with hardly any resources left in the bank and only 1 strategic point left on the map. Which means the game is pretty much over. Things that I think Guy Ledouche probably could have done better this game, better maintain building control, better harassment of the north when it was undefended. Engage a little bit more cost effectively, utilizing Molotovs and cover more efficiently. And he just needed to have a much tighter early game. I thought he had pretty sound build decisions. Going with 5 conscript opening makes sense when you've chosen armored assault, which is a slightly less seen commander. I think it's reasonably viable, but he just needed to make better use of conscripts. He needed to field superior numbers to his opponent in engagements where possible. Saw quite a few idle units here in the base. I do think he probably should have purchased field infirmary at some point. He still hasn't gotten that, and over the course of the game that actually costs you more in reinforcements than it costs you in the initial upfront purchase price, I think.
Enemy is reduced to 300 points. Make ready to move.
Conscripts will be forced back into the base yet again. They're not going to make anything happen against Sib's front lines here. Mines everywhere. Panzer II available in the south. Most of Sib's infantry at full health here in the north. He has superior numbers, better veterancy. Doesn't really seem like there's anything he can do, and this contained, he won't even be able to afford his call-ins. I don't even know if he'll make it to the CPs for his call-ins. It'll be some time before the triple cap runs out. Panther's already rolling onto the field, though. Conscripts with maximum support force a couple retreats, but more infantry is on its way. Panzer II is getting a little aggressive right there. It's going to need to pull back for some repairs. Does not attack ground through the hedge. Sturm Pioneers, rather than pulling back for repairs, decide to just get aggressive and push away all of these team weapons now that all conscripts have also been forced to retreat. Another conscript squad just got wiped. Down to only 2 remaining, purchasing a 3rd. Basically just farming up command points. But I mean, it doesn't really accomplish anything. He's gained no ground, just hurling himself into a brick wall, just giving himself and his opponent XP really, and not engaging cost effectively. If we look at kills and losses, we can see that Sib is just so much more cost effective. This is not a sustainable strategy. $135 points remaining for the Soviet player, losing control of even the strategic point immediately outside of his base. Continues to just be completely stuck, making no progress on any front, losing manpower left and right. Sib's Panther's on the field, hasn't barely even participated in engagements though. Conscripts are going to make a push for the south this time. They will be able to force this retreat, get the strategic point back under control, for whatever that's worth.
Assembly complete. Enemy down to 100 points. Target secure. Receiving effective fire.
Panzer II getting aggressive now, diving into the base, try and finish off his opponent if at all possible. We do have anti-tank grenade research, so Lux will receive engine damage, but I'm not sure that's going to matter. Field gun gets cleared with Panther support.
We have lowered the enemy to 75 points.
75 points remaining for the Soviet player, who will unlikely be able to get these tanks out of his base, let alone get a victory point back under control. This squad of conscripts, which is making a sort of half-hearted attempt at harassment here on the south field point, is getting taken out by Volksgrenadiers with Jaeger light infantry support from range. They're going to get wiped any second. Sniped. This squad's not going to do any better. Panzer II diving the base to put an end to some of these squads.
Aufgepasst! The enemy is down to 25 points. Unit ready.
Scavenge artillery being dropped on the HQ to try and go for the annihilation victory. It's not going to happen though. There's really no way he's going to blow up his HQ before the points run out. And there it is, victory points have run out, and after a short break we will go into game 2.